Well. Welcome back to another downbeat episode of the We Talk Chelsea podcast. Three friends who play Sunday League football, united by a love of Chelsea Football Club. And, oh, yeah, it's just another one of those. It's just when you think, do you know what? Maybe we'll turn a corner, and all of a sudden it just gets worse and worse and worse. Thanks very much for joining me tonight, chaps. Charlie, Tim, how you both doing?
Well, as good as you can be. Thank you.
Yeah, ditto, to be honest, just plodding along.
Well, there's much to talk about going into today's podcast. We've got the review of Chelsea versus Brighton at home, another 2-1 loss. But on the plus side, let's take the positives from the situation. Chelsea scored a goal, which is tremendous stuff, bringing an end to 613 minutes without a goal. Conor Gallagher's heavily deflected shot, and sometimes you just need that luck to go in. But as always, can't hold the lead, and we crumble straight away. Let's lead into it. Okay, so let's start talking about it. So it was awful. It was so bad. Like, I thought when we spoke last week, Charlie, and I thought, okay, the Wolverhampton game was our worst game. This, without a doubt, is the worst I've seen us perform in years. Yeah, it was horrific. We go 1-0 up and then we just go on the back foot. It was so weird to see Chelsea putting that low block in against Everton against Brighton, and then trying to counter attack against Brighton. It's not a Chelsea that I remember. Let's start with Charlie, Mr. Positive himself. We were talking across throughout the game. It wasn't good enough. You could feel the goals were coming. You didn't think at any point you were convinced you were going to hold a 1-0 lead. It was, for me, atrocious. How do you feel? I already know how you feel, but just to give your opinion on how you think things went on Saturday. If there's any sort of modicum that we can take out from this game that we can just say, yeah, that's a shining light, because I can't see it.
I would say the only shining light is that hopefully it's Pulisic and Ziyech's last game for Chelsea. That's probably the only shining light I can think at the moment. I thought it was an absolute disaster. I thought the lineup was bizarre, very bizarre. I didn't quite understand why we rested certain players.
Like who?
Well, like Reece James, for example. We rested, let's say, Mount. We rested, Kante, certain players like that. But then we didn't rest Enzo Fernandez, who's been pivotal to the recent success, and we didn't rest players like even we all know Sterling's going to play. It doesn't matter, like wherever we think Sterling will probably play on tomorrow, won't he? And we didn't bother resting him. I just thought it was just a really bad performance. For bearing in mind we've got this bloated squad who apparently want to do something, and they've got this massive match tomorrow. You think they'd really want to fight if they had the chance to just be on that pitch. They'd want to fight. Bearing in mind they know they've been rested, they have that fight to actually want to start that match tomorrow. But there was nothing, and the players that came on who probably will start the match was even worse, in my opinion. There was nothing changed when those players came on. Nothing. And it was bad. It was really bad, actually. I'm going to say this now. It was bad, and it was the worst, in my opinion, the worst performance I've seen Chelsea play. And this might seem like some sort of guy on some sort of rant, but it is. It was really, really bad. Simple.
Yeah, it was atrocious. I mean, Tem, where do you think the problem was? Do you think it was in terms of team selection, like what Charlie said, in terms of what Lampard decided to throw out, or do you think it's the bloat squad situation, or do you think quite simply Brighton are an exceptional team and they just played us off the park? I mean, we conceded 26 shots. It's the most we've ever conceded at home in years. What do you attribute Saturday's loss to? Is it a combination of three, or is it one you kind of pinpoint?
A combination of three. Well, yeah, I would say a combination of three. I think team selection in terms of what the squad is used to and what the players have been used to of recent, I don't understand why he decided to go with the back four. Unless, I don't know, it's something that they're working on in terms of trying to get better. Maybe Lampard's just thought this is what suits us best. But again, he's probably seen our last few performances when Graham Potter was in charge, and I don't know how he's come to the conclusion that we should change to a back four.
Yeah, I mean, when I saw the lineup, I didn't understand the back four at all. It was, why would you deviate from a position where you've got Chilwell available? You know, he's not going to be able to play on Tuesday, so you know Chilwell's going to start. You have all these players that can start in that position. You know, you have Aspilicueta on the bench. Like, could that have been the time to just put that rotation in for somebody even at centre back, even as like a stalwart in the middle or just off the right? It didn't make sense to me either.
Yeah, well, like I said, I didn't understand it. At the same time, I could understand why Enzo played. I don't think we quite have a player like him in our squad. That was Jorginho, unfortunately, but he's gone now. So the only player who can realistically dictate the play is Enzo. And he has to play every game. Otherwise, we just don't play football at all. But then again, on Saturday, that was probably one of our worst ever performances at Stamford Bridge, because I think they had 26 shots in total, and we only had about 8. I don't think we only had like 2 shots on target, something around that. I think it was 2 or 3 shots on target, and whereas they had 10. So you could see the disparity, and plus they had more possession, which you don't
70%.
You don't often say that about mid-table teams at Stamford Bridge. Usually, yes, Man City and maybe Liverpool we give possession up to, but certainly not Brighton, especially not over the last few years. So, yeah, full credit to them. They're where they are, and they deserve to be where they are, and we deserve to be where we are because, you know, we just haven't been good enough.
Yeah, and I thought one thing was bizarre. I didn't know if you guys picked this up in terms of our defending, playing that 4-4-2, 4-4-2, 4-3-3. The centre backs, Fofana and Badiashile, they didn't look like that there was any sort of cohesion like between the two of them. Admittedly, I don't think they performed as a two between them, but especially in terms of they consistently pressed high up the pitch, creating the space. So the deepest man back would be the right back and the left back, which, let's face it, if Chilwell's on the left, it's going to be the right back there. So who's even playing right back? I can't even remember. Chalobah, who was, again, Matoma had him on toast all day. He was left to go one-on-one the whole time, and we were trying to play that man-marking kind of football, and we were just trying to put 2 on Evan Ferguson the whole time, creating so much space in behind for Matoma to run into. It did not make sense at all. Like, why would you suddenly deviate and go a man-for-man kind of Leeds-esque, like Bielsa style, kind of try and play man-for-man football when it's just clear it doesn't work? Teams can pass us to death, and like they'll find that space and create, and then you're just left with so many men up the pitch and not enough people at the back defending.
Yeah, and the other. Sorry, Tim. The other thing with this as well, just this is off the top of my head. How many times do you reckon that back four has ever played together this season? I vouch 0. Yeah, in fact, never. I vouched that Fofana and Maddsion never played together.
I don't. They played as part of a 3, but not as a 2.
Maybe, yeah, but not as a 2, right? It's just that midfield's definitely never played together. Gallagher, Enzo, and Zakaria. I don't think so. And that front three hasn't either. So, of course, they're just. This is the problem. It's just a load of blokes. Just, you know, it's just like going to a five-a-side, you know, like it's match, you know, down the local park or something, you know, with a load of people you don't know, and just hoping that, you know, there's usually one team who sort of knows a few people. They know how it's like that. They just don't know how to play together. They just don't know.
It's like they definitely don't know each other's strengths and what their weaknesses are. It's just there's no cohesion, and the only thing that's going to build that cohesion is, you know, emptying the squad out. Do you think, like with Lampard, because he's an interim manager, but do you feel like Lampard should maybe take the reins a little bit and like, okay, I know this is kind of an audition for me. If I do exceptionally well and I win the Champions League, chances are I've kind of forced myself into the contention of actually being offered the job. If I win the Champions League, but I'm not offered the job, I'm going to get a better role elsewhere. Is this like free reign for Lampard to say, do you know what, I'm not going to play these 7, 8 players at all, regardless of injuries, regardless of, you know, rotation for like fatigue or anything along those lines. So, do you know, I'm going balls to the wall. This is what I want. I'm playing these ones each and every week. But the problem is, I see it is, he's probably not going to be there in September. These players know that they're kind of safe from risking the eye of Lampard because they know somebody else is going to come back in. I mean, do you feel an element of sympathy to Lampard in that situation?
In a sense, yeah, because I feel like any manager would struggle in the current predicament we're in. I think it's mainly falls down to the owners in the sense of like, I wouldn't expect a top manager to come and possibly get us back in the top four or win us the Champions League in the position we're in at the moment. I think this season was done as soon as Potter was sacked, to be honest. I thought losing to Aston Villa cemented where we are. Anything towards the end of the season was sort of a quote unquote miracle if we got anything out of it. Because even if you just look at our squad with any top manager, you still don't understand where the goals are coming from. We have a game every 3 days, so again, like when does the manager really? Well, yeah, not for long, but when would you sort of let the new manager per se have time on the training pitch to implement his new tactics and the players to actually get acclimatized to it? Because like you said, we do also have a bloated squad, so how does he manage that situation? You leave certain players unhappy or confused because nobody really knows what's going to happen with their future. So I think with a slightly more settled squad, maybe 23, 24 players at the start of next season, you would see a big change. But at the current stage we are, no, not really.
Yeah.
And I forgot, what was the other question you asked?
I can't even remember. Well, it's gone. I was just listening to you talk. Do you feel like an element of sympathy to Lampard?
Yeah. Well, in a sense, yes, but in a sense, no, because from the quotes I saw this Saturday, I think it was, he said that he didn't really work much on the training pitch in terms of tactically. He just tried to motivate them as people and as players, and he thought like that would sort of help us get over the line. And I think, that shows in the way we play, because at this very top level of football, you need someone who's going to be tactically good. We saw it under Thomas Tuchel when we went through that Champions League. I don't think anyone thought we would win the Champions League before he took over, but you saw the difference that he made and implemented on the squad, and how much he elevated our performances to a level I didn't think was possible. But it ended up winning the Champions League, and that's what a top manager does. And unfortunately, Lampard isn't a top manager such as Thomas Tuchel. So there's only so far he can actually take us. And with the players' confidence at all-time low, he just hasn't helped us, to gain anything, because at the moment it looks like he's actually worse than Graham Potter was.
Yeah, I mean, I think I can agree. He probably is, like in terms of standings and abilities as a coach. I'd say Graham Potter is better than Lampard. I think Lampard, I think he kind of knows it's his audition. He's basically in a window. He's like he's been given a temporary role to showcase his skills to another club in the summer, and what he can do and what he can get out of this. I think one rhetoric that I think we've all discussed previously is like, I don't know if you see it, but on the Facebook post for Chelsea Football Club as well, it's like as soon as like a loss happens, it's always blamed directly on the manager. And I think, Temba, you touched upon it, was it doesn't matter who you bring in. Like, we could have Mourinho in at this point. We could have like Pep. I think, like I said, I think even Pep would struggle. If we have Pep Guardiola in this squad now, trying to manage these amount of players, even he would struggle. I mean, it's one of the things. I think there's too much vitriol aimed at managers where it should be firmly placed at the hands of Clearlake Capital, Todd Bowley, because they've created this mess. They have, undoubtedly, they're the ones that spent the money. They're the ones that fired Tuchel after, it wasn't even that bad a game, like a run of form. It was simply, basically, they fired Tuchel because he wasn't going to be a yes man. Let's face it. It's just like, I mean, Charlie, what do you think? Do you feel like more blame should be placed squarely at the feet for Bowley?
It's just such a weird one, because you can't blame a guy for spending money. He spent more money than any other owner in history. He spent more money than Abramovich in a short space of time, in terms of a period of time. But at the same time, the way that he spent it is extremely naive. And he took over the club in, I think it was July last year. So he had a half a summer window, essentially. He's had a January window to sort this out. And basically what he's done is it's the equivalent of a supermarket sweep. He's gone in a supermarket with a trolley. He's gone just anyone available.
This is unfair.
Yeah. What is it? Quickly get around as quickly as he can and just take it. And then at the end of it, he's gone out the automatic doors and he's gone, what have I got in my trolley? And that's the problem. He doesn't seem to. There's no sort of it just like whatever, Yeah. And but then at the same time, I look at other things as well. It's like, everyone I listen to so many things like Talk Sport. You listen to them all. They go, oh yeah, Chelsea don't have a striker. We've got strikers. We just don't play them. We've got Aubameyang. We've got.
I fully expected Aubameyang to play.
Number 9s. They are both number 9s, right? And they just consistently, no matter who the manager is, whether it's Potter, Tuchel, it's as if I've got. And this might sound like a conspiracy theory, but I seriously believe that Bowley is so in the money in terms of the way that we play that he has to keep the high-end assets sort of on the pitch, essentially, to keep their value. Because, of course, if David Fofana, if he never plays a game for Chelsea again, they've only lost 13 million and they'll probably get 5 million from him anyway, right? But if Havertz doesn't play for Chelsea again, he's going to be worth like 20 million and we lose 50 million. Do you see what I mean? So there has to be something in that. I don't understand why you would consistently play. And I think Havertz is actually a good player, but he's just in the totally wrong position consistently. And you can't blame him for having his head down. I would do the same. If someone just kept putting you up front, you didn't really want to be, and you're definitely, they didn't sign you for that, then it's the same thing, isn't it?
Yeah, I still think that. Yeah, you are right. I don't think it's a conspiracy theory. I think we've had that discussion a few weeks back where we said that the reason why some of these players like Pulisic is coming into the team, like Ziyech is coming in the team, is because you need to play these players to offer a resale value. And I think there is something behind that. It's like with the rotation in, you need to kind of put people in the shop window to kind of keep the transfer value high. So in the summer, when we hopefully we do the clear out of the players that we need to try and balance the books because he spent all this money. I think supermarket sweep is a good analogy. I think when I was thinking about it, it's kind of like when like a mum and dad get divorced and the kids go live with the mum. And then the dad needs to spend all this money to buy the affection and buy the love, and that's what it reminds me of. He's just spending all this money too soon. He's buying, the kids' PlayStations and all that nonsense, things that they don't really need for the club, and it's just made the situation kind of worse. He didn't have to spend 600 million in these 2 windows. He could have spent 300 million. Do you know what I mean? He's made that choice to spend that amount of money, and I think that might be part of the terms of the sale. Like he has to invest a certain amount into the playing squad.
Not all at once. Not all
he doesn't
have
to.
And he did it. He did it to get the fans. He's done every decision that he's made is just to get the fans off his back. Every single decision he's made. He did it in January because we were playing Lewis Hall. We had an injury crisis, and everyone knew that we had this injury crisis. And we were, we've got to get some players. And he went and signed all these players. He put them on long contracts. And I'll take up Dale's point here on the chat. About offloading players and things like this, right? The problem with that, Dale, is we've signed these players within the last, let's say, 6 months, 7 months, right? You don't sell. We're not going to sell Mudryk, are we, this summer, right?
No,
we're not going to sell Enzo. Who are we going to be selling? We're going to be selling Pulisic, Ziyech, Kovacic, Loftus-Cheek, Hudson-Odoi, Gallagher, Azpilicueta. These are players who've been at Chelsea for years. Mount, years. Yeah. So you're going to be left with basically a bunch of guys who have nothing. They don't have a clue about Chelsea. They don't have a clue about
the M word. Say the M word you love so much. Mercenary.
No, it's not mercenary. It's not actually mercenary. It's just they don't understand the culture of the club. There's no academy players left. There's no people who have won things left. It's just left with these new players, basically, just a load of new players who don't understand what Chelsea is. So how can they possibly mould a team without these people, and that's why they brought Lampard in. They thought that maybe he could instill, but he hasn't, unfortunately, because there's too many of them.
The problem is like there's players there from Lampard's era that remember what things were like under Lampard, and if he'd lost the respect of the dressing room towards the end of his tenure there's no thing to say that he's going to command that respect straight away. It's a tricky one. Like, I think we've had that discussion in the past where do you make the decision to go with the interim just to hold the fort down to the end of the season? And I think I said it's because you don't want to put Nagelsmann in or Luis Enrique in at this point of the season because it tarnishes their kind of managerial start to begin with. He said, if say for example Enrique was put in now and we finish 11th, it doesn't matter who's the manager of that season, it'll just say Enrique, Chelsea, 11th. That's what it'll say. There's no caveat for it was Potter or someone on those lines. I do kind of get that understanding, but I think it could have been somebody different. I think it was firmly a decision. Do you think it's a decision firmly made just to kind of appease? Because I'm sensing there is more discontent amongst Chelsea fans for the administration so far. Do you think that a Lampard appointment is just another example of how bad it's being run currently by the club?
I wouldn't say so bad, but I think they have made quite a few mistakes. Like Charlie alluded to, they did go through like a bit of a scattergun approach where they thought, let's do this whilst it's available.
Yeah.
Let's take our opportunity whilst we can. But was it actually the best thing for the club is a different question. I don't think we utilised January quite as well to get the likes of Ziyech out, maybe Pulisic, and just to trim the squad a little bit.
I think the problem for Pulisic was I think he was injured at the time, and I don't think clubs wanted to take the risk of.
Okay. That one I could understand, but the Ziyech one, I felt like you could have got him out. You maybe could have got Aubameyang out and maybe got another striker in. Or at least a striker. Again, like we've been playing Havertz nearly every single game, bar maybe one. I think Aubameyang came on against in the Wolves game, was it?
Yeah, he came off in the Wolves game, but then he also didn't start at the weekend, did he? Because he was nursing an injury, so he's protecting him for Madrid. It's essentially
he can't play at Madrid. He can't play at Madrid. And he was on the bench, so why?
He's not been registered. Remember,
Potter took him out.
Wait. Oh, sorry. I thought you said Havertz.
Aubameyang.
Not Aubameyang. Sorry, I thought you were talking about Havertz.
Havertz will definitely play against Madrid.
I don't understand why Aubameyang didn't start on Saturday either. It just made sense to me to kind of give that rest to Havertz and actually play a number 9.
Yeah, so like I was saying, I think the Lampard move was a sort of a PR move in terms of they've realised they made a mistake, but it was kind of already too late, and they've thought, the fans' reaction was quite bad. And now they have to do something to salvage the season or get the fans back on board. And there we go. That's why Lampard was appointed. And, you even saw on the weekend when the owners were walking across the pitch to go to the dressing room. That was posted by actually the Chelsea FC admin. It wasn't like a journalist breaking out or something, leaked sort of photo. It all looked very PR to me, and all this about them singling out a senior player who has been bought for a lot of money in the last 12 months, which is probably aiming at Raheem Sterling or Cucurella. Apparently, one of those players doesn't look interested and looks like to be a problem in the squad, and they want to get rid of him. So I don't know where.
I can't see it being Cucurella. Like, as much as I don't rate Cucurella, I can't see it being him. I don't think he's that type of character.
What kind of professionalism is that? What kind of professionalism is that from a club owner to go into a dressing room, if that's true, to go and say that? I mean, I saw the Daily Mail the other day. I mean, I know that it's a Daily Mail, but they were saying that he got advice from James Corden about appointing Lampard. I mean, it's probably rubbish, but the thing is, it's so believable because it's Bowley. He's such a prat. He just goes around Europe making an idiot of himself. That stupid thing.
3-0 Chelsea.
That Madrid interview he did, that North versus South thing when he hasn't got a clue about the Premier League. That was a complete sham. He's just and the thing is, we all know, and it sounds really stupid. The only reason he was going to that dressing room was to get them all on an extension contract. That's how stupid he is. He was probably trying to get them on an 8-year deal or something. I mean, this is this is what annoys me about this guy. He means well. He's got a good heart. I don't think he's an evil owner. I don't think he's a Mike Ashley or a Glazer. I really don't. I think he does genuinely want the best for Chelsea. But if he does want the best for Chelsea, he needs to give some of the reins to other people. He
needs to be hands off. Yeah. Look at what Roman did. Like Roman, he bankrolled Chelsea. You know, he wiped the debt. He bankrolled us for 20 years, but he never ran the club day to day. It was always run by somebody else, because he knew my business is in oil. What do I know about running a football club?
Yeah, I think some of the final decisions were probably with Roman. I do think that. But
every final decision would have been Roman.
But at the same time, he would never
been him.
He would never ever give an interview to anyone. That guy, he was too clued up for that. He knew exactly what his job was. It was just to palm everything up because he wasn't a PR guy. Ultimately, that's just not what he's good at. You know.
But I think that's part of what makes Bowley a typical American owner. May you say they are very PR and they all believe in transparency and sort of looking at everything from a financial sheet and, you know, milking money out of everything and anything they can in terms of making it as revenue, as we've seen and as we've heard. So, you know, when he was saying like we don't use things like such as the Fifth Stand app and, you know, Twitter interactions and things like that, I think those sort of things like you're seeing where they were walking across the pitch, those are PR things, and maybe even out hiring Lampard to, you know, gain interaction with the fans and get them on side, get them back to coming to Stamford Bridge, spending a bit more money, things like that.
I don't even think that PR isn't working. It really isn't, because I think it just alienates him further.
Yeah,
it further alienates him from people because it doesn't make sense. Like for the last 8 months, he's not run the club well. So why do we think all of a sudden, because he's coming over to clap the fans or somebody along those lines, or was going into the dressing room? Why do we think, do you know what? To be fair to him, at least he's proper Chelsea. He'll come over and clap the fans. Because at the moment, to me, it's just annoying. It's like you said, it's PR, and you can see right through it. It's so transparent. It's ridiculous.
Can I say something on that? Sorry, go on, Tim. You go.
Yeah, and it's something that I think he's going to come to realize, that football is a very tribalistic sport compared to American sports, where people react off, you know, positive energy and, you know, results. Really, it's a results-based business. We're all tribalistic towards our football club. If our football club isn't doing well, we'll go shout about it, as you've seen those certain fans who are giving him grief about it. And we all like to belong to our club. Our club means a lot to us. We aren't going to look at it through a finance sheet. We'll look at it through, you know, raw passion and emotion. So he's going to have to understand that the results do need to come first before we see things in a financial aspect, or, you know, in a data way.
Yeah, and I think the people that become the club legends are the people that show that passion and show that kind of fight for Chelsea. It's not the fact no fan goes, do you know what, we bought him for 20 million, but we sold him for 80. That's some cracking business, that is.
Yeah.
It's not really. Nobody does that. We look at how they play on the pitch and how they win games for us.
But the other thing, can I just say something as well? And this is, you know, I've said this on the WhatsApp group before. I honestly, a lot of people are going, right off this season, and, you know, we go on to the next season. What's the guarantee that next season is going to be any better? I honestly have, this is one point. But the second point is, this summer, right, everyone's going, we'll offload a load of players. People don't realise we've overpaid for nearly every single player that we've bought since Bowley's been around. Every European club has rinsed us for what? Because of his naivety. They also now know that we've got an FFP problem. So they also know that they can underpay now for a load of players that we need to get rid of, including the likes of Lukaku. That could be a huge problem, trying to offload him on 325 grand a week, right? But even the rest of them, these guys, we'll probably lose them. We'll probably sell them for 10 million less than the value, just because the clubs that we're selling them to are on the whole, going to be fellow Champions League clubs. They're going to be, well, I'd say fellow, but you know what I'm trying to say? These sort of clubs, and they will underpay, okay? And now then you're left with a real problem, because you've got these players on long contracts, right? 7 or 8 year contracts that you've overpaid for, that are not necessarily going to be very good.
Yeah.
But you're stuck with them for 7 or 8 years. Now, if I don't think this will happen. I'd be very surprised if it does. But if we next season is no better than this season, then we actually are in an Everton position, right? Which I'd be quite surprised, but it could happen, right? Everton had Ancelotti, right? Everton had a good manager. It happens, right? I have a funny feeling that we could be in a real problem. We could be stuck with these players who will sit there on these long contracts. We've got a stadium issue there where we can't move. We can't do anything about that. There's a lot. We've got no sponsor anymore. We've got some serious issues at the moment.
At that point, do you not just ship them out on loan and just think, you know, we'll take the hit and pay 50% of the wages or 60% of the wages just to get them out of the club?
With whose money? With whose money? Because ultimately we don't have anything coming in anymore. And Bowley will not just keep spending. He won't keep trying to spend the way out of this.
He won't. No,
there will come a point where he'll just sell the club.
Yeah, there will. I mean, think of it this way: if someone's on £100,000 a week, and you're paying 60,000 a week for him to play somewhere else. It's a really stupid, messed up situation, but you're still saving £40,000 a week to put elsewhere. It's that stupid thing. Like, we're probably not going to get any loan fees for players or anything like that at all. You know, there's not going to be a Joao Felix situation where we're going to spend 12 million on a loan player, which I think is a bit. It's another thing I wanted to bring up as well. Like, in terms of the loan signings that we've made, we've had Felix around now for 3.5 months. I think I've changed back and forth on this. Where do we stand? Do you think if we have the opportunity to sign him, do you sign him, or you just think he's another person of putting a square peg in a round hole?
Tim.
That's for anyone.
Well, I think he is something we could add to our squad. Is he a priority? No. I think we need a lot more players before he comes in. If there was a budget enough after we've got our most important positions, I would sign him. However, looking at how much money we possibly could spend this summer and the amount of money we even generate from outgoings, I think no. I think he definitely shouldn't sign for Chelsea. I think we have way too many positions to look at and sort of.
And we're very bloated in that area already. Like
and especially if we're looking at experienced players, they're probably going to command a higher fee unless we're looking at players who are past their 30s again, which I don't see as signing. So I think he definitely, unfortunately for him, he probably will have to go to a Man United or Arsenal.
Yeah, I mean, do you think he could be like players could be used as a make weight to put towards Atletico, like players like Pulisic or Ziyech, sending them that way as kind of to reduce the fee down, get wages reduced?
I mean, possibly, but then if you look at the sort of positions we still need a midfielder and a goalkeeper. Again, if we sign a defensive midfielder or just a midfielder in general, it's probably going to cost 60 to 80 million. A goalkeeper on top is probably another 20 million. A striker's maybe another, maybe another 100 or 60 million. So there's already nearly 200 million pounds spent, and you need to offload players to actually make a profit on top of that, which just seems impossible to add Felix on top of that as well.
Yeah. It's a tricky situation. Charlie, what do you think? Do you think if there was the option to able to get Felix in, do you take it? I mean, he does seem fairly positive when he's on the ball. Had a couple of quiet games, but when he first joined, it's like, great, this is a player that we want. Somebody's going to be direct, somebody to fill that kind of Hazard role. But again, it's another player that he's able to run with the ball, but he's not able to score goals. He scored 1 goal. Do you think he's somebody that you add if you had the opportunity to ship players out?
Yeah, I mean, if you get rid of Pulisic, Ziyech, Hudson-Odoi, Gallagher, Mount, all these other players, then maybe. But I don't think we will. I think this is the other thing. People don't understand this summer. It's quite easy to buy players. It's quite hard to sell them, actually. To sell them, bearing in mind they're on contracts and some of them don't want to leave, some of them are quite happy sitting there. And this is the problem with football as well. This really annoys me as well, is the amount of power that agents have. Agents have the power. They're the ones. It's nothing to do with if Pulisic wants to go. It's to do with whether his agent is going to make more money
wants to buy another
selling
house.
him on. Yeah, and if he's got a good deal with AC Milan or whoever he's going to go, I don't know where he's going to go, but whoever he's going to go to, has he got? Is he going to make money from it? If not, he'd rather just sit in London and just let him rot on the bench. This is the problem. They're not even. It's just so bad. But in terms of Felix, look, yeah, great player. I like the guy, but at the same time, we've got Nkunku coming in. There are other players coming.
Yeah.
You know, people forget about that, I don't think necessarily we're going to actually needs a strong word. Are we going to need him? Not sure.
Yeah.
Well, it's we can talk about the Brighton game in more detail if we really need to. I think we'd just be echoing what everyone else said. It was a truly, truly, truly dreadful performance. There was no kind of standout moment for ourselves. I mean, if you can cast your mind back to that 90 minutes of dross, is there any positives that you can take from the situation? Do you think, hey, Lampard actually made 4 subs at once when he realised it wasn't working, but made it worse, but he took the risk? Like, is there any positive you can take from it?
The only positive I can take from it is that he should learn a lesson never to start like that again. That's the only positive, is that we're going into a match tomorrow, and hopefully he'll go, okay, well, I've tried that 4, it didn't work twice, and let's go back to the 3 at the back. And that's the only positive I can take, honestly.
Yeah.
Tim?
Yeah. Another thing I'd say, Mudryk looked quite good compared to his last few games. I thought yesterday, on Saturday, we saw a few bright sparks from him. Yeah, apart from that, nothing really. Like Charlie said, I don't think a back 4 is what we need, and hopefully he's learned his lesson.
Hopefully so. Well, let's move on and look towards tomorrow night. Stamford Bridge plays host to the current reigning defending European champions Real Madrid. We're coming on the back of a 2-0 loss to Madrid at the Bernabeu. We played well for, I believe it was about 5 minutes, and then we just fell apart again. It seems like a standard thing. Let's look towards it. I mean, we can look at the league, okay? We can look at the league. The league's gone, and you can see why players would drop their heads a little bit and think, well, there's no chance we're going to make Europe. We're not really going to get pushed into a relegation dogfight. You'd hope not. It's still a possibility. Do these players think, okay, Europe, this is where we're actually going to, turn up and, give that extra 10% and chase that second ball? Because we weren't chasing that second ball down in that game against Brighton or against Wolverhampton. We were losing it every single time. How do you feel tomorrow's going to go, Tim?
Going based off the last few games, I think the players already feel like it's over, and it's something Lampard alluded to when he said he doesn't think the players know how good they are.
Yeah.
And also he said he was working on them motivational wise. I think it's a very different era, like compared to his time, whereas they had that core set of players who would just lift themselves up on a big night. If no matter who the manager was, they would just turn up and sort of motivate themselves through their professionalism. I feel like nowadays you need your manager to be that motivator and also that tactician to sort of lead you through the game. And I don't think Lampard is quite that. I don't see how he beats Ancelotti tactically unless he pulls off a masterstroke. But yeah, if he does manage to get us tactically set up well, why not? If we go a goal up, why not?
Charlie, how are you feeling about tomorrow? Are you apprehensive? Are you concerned that you're going to see another 90 minutes of just Chelsea lying on the back and taking it?
Look, we'll always support Chelsea, right? We'll always we can sit here now, can't we, and be negative as anything. And in typical Chelsea fashion, we might win 3-0 tomorrow, right? I say this every single week, and I have said it the whole season. And Tim shakes his head at me, and I do it every single match, don't I? As soon as I see the lineup, I get excited. I'm there, and even the Real Madrid away match, I thought that was actually probably the best team we've ever put out all season. And I didn't think it was actually as bad as people make out. I thought it was okay. But yeah, I mean, in terms of motivation, I mean, didn't Todd Bowley bring in some sort of master of motivation a few months ago? Did you hear about this?
Probably.
He should head should roll. I mean, that guy. What kind of jobs he done? He's made them worse. I mean, he should be, he should be out of the club. It's just this is the point I'm trying to make. It's it just seems like these guys are. I don't know. I think what will happen tomorrow, if I had to guess, we'll come out of the traps really fast for about 5 or 10 minutes. We'll get in some half decent positions. We'll realise we can't score a goal, and then we just revert to the whole team believing that we can't score a goal, and then we just.
Yeah.
I think that's what happens. I honestly think that's what happens. I honestly think that the people at the back can see that it's almost a waste of their energy.
Passing the ball forward.
They can sort of see, well, what's the point? Because even if you get it to the byline or whatever, there's nobody in the box, or even if there is, they're not going to score it, and that's it.
How do you feel? I mean, I think we're pretty unanimous in terms of we should be playing 3 at the back with the wing backs. How do you think we should line up for tomorrow's game, Tim? If you're in Frank Lampard's position now, he's rested players at the weekend for whatever reason. He's got players coming back from injuries. He's got to manage their game time. There's players available. It's going to be a vastly different team. How would you line the team up?
Kepa in goal. I think you'd have to go for Fana, Silva, and Cucurella. Oh, maybe not actually. Maybe you'd have to go with Chalobah as the other centre back. James and Cucurella as wing backs, or maybe even Sterling as a wing back.
But do you think Sterling's got the defensive acumen to keep Vinicius Jr. quiet?
Yeah, that's the big problem. Well, he would have to play on the left wing back, so he would be up against Rodrigo.
Yeah,
Vinicius would be up against James, so I think we could still get away with a 5 back. I think James as the right wing back, Chalobah maybe as the right centre back, Silva, and then who was the other one I said? Fofana maybe. I know Fofana would play on the right because he's predominantly plays on the right. Chalobah on the left. Silva in the middle, Cucurella as the wing back.
Yeah,
I think that's honestly maybe our best option.
Do you think Chalobah is going to be the better? Because he looked ropey in a position that he wasn't particularly comfortable with. Like Matoma is a fantastic player. He really is. He's come out all guns blazing and nobody knew who the hell he was, and all of a sudden he's up there with some of the best wing play in the league. Vinicius Jr. is widely regarded as the best winger in the world at the moment. Is Chalobah going to be the person that's going to play to kind of keep him quiet, or is it going to be somebody with a bit of more experience on the head in terms of Koulibaly? I know he was rested.
He might be injured.
Has it been confirmed though?
Yeah, I think if he's available, I thought Silva.
I thought Thiago Silva was out for at least another 2 weeks, and he played last week. So
I think Lampard said weeks.
Okay.
And when was that? Was that the Wolves game? No, it wasn't the Wolves game. It was the last Champions League game, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm not. Let me just quickly have a look. I'm not sure if he's. Yeah, he's.
Havertz is injured as well.
That's why he was rested. That's why he was rested at the weekend, because he's got like a slight knock. So I think Havertz is likely to start. But could you see potentially Azpilicueta starting, just in terms of, or do you think having him and Silva in the back line is risky?
I think Azpilicueta comes on as a sub if we're winning. I think he will either go with Cucurella as either the left centre back or a left wing back, and it would have to be probably someone experienced like Sterling having to start a wing back, because I don't see any other option at the moment, to be honest.
Yeah.
He plays at that left wing back role.
And Charlie, do you think you play with 3 in midfield again like last week, or do you think, okay, we need to actually win the game, we need to get more attackers on the pitch? Not that it makes much of a difference, but do you try and mirror with 3 in midfield, or do you put 2 in the middle and then play with 3 attackers?
I honestly don't think it makes a difference. I really don't. I mean, I probably. It really is like we're talking about. It's like you talking about going to war against. It's just I don't know. I honestly don't know. I don't even know what the difference is. I didn't think it made too much of a difference last week. I thought we played a little bit better, but we didn't ever really look like scoring. I would be playing Mount. I would be playing people like that. People like Mount. People who actually have played in these sort of big occasions before. Mount's played in World Cups. He's scored against Real Madrid at least once. I think he scored last year and the year before. I'd be playing him. I'd be playing Dave. Sorry, Azpilicueta, for anyone that doesn't know, but Azpilicueta. I just think there's too much pace in that Real Madrid team. I just think he would just get done. I'd probably play Kovacic. I'd probably play Kante, Enzo.
This is where I differ. I think in that midfield, like, I know you want Mount, but I think Mount would probably be better suited centrally. I don't think I'd play Kovacic. I don't think I'd start him. And that's just an opinion. I don't think I would. I think I would have Enzo, Kante, and Mount, and have Mount and Kante as the people that bomb forward, because Kante is not going to last that full game. He just isn't. We know that for a fact. He won't. He'll be protected. And I think having somebody like Kovacic come on then would be a good addition at that point in the game. I think Kovacic, I think his head's elsewhere. Like, this is personal opinion. I think he's already eyeing leaving in the summer. I think that's his priority at the moment, and he's just kind of getting across the line, which is a shame, because Kovacic, I think, is a fantastic player, but I don't think his heart's really in, putting 100% in. I think Mason Mount probably would take that opportunity and run with it.
I think Mount has to start. I really do. I really, in a match like this at home with a crowd behind him, I think since he's come back from injury, he's looked okay. He's looked a little bit better. I think having the fans behind him, which they will at a home game, I think he has to start. I mean, looking at some of the other things, I don't think Mudryk should be starting. I really don't.
I think he will.
Yeah, but I really don't think he should.
I think the rumours are that he's likely going to start. Is very strongly favoured to start the game, to make his first start.
Mudryk is, in my opinion, only effective when teams play some sort of a high line. Real Madrid will be backs to the wall. They did it against Liverpool in that second leg at home. They could have easily beaten Liverpool 5-0 at the Bernabeu if they wanted to, but they didn't. They just went backs to the wall, and that's what they'll do, in my opinion. I think they'll try and nick a goal. I mean, in all honesty, I cannot see us getting anything from tomorrow. I really can't. But at the same time, we'll support the team, won't we? We'll give it a go, and look, fingers crossed. I mean, I'm sure the first 10 minutes will be frantic, but I just think once the game matures and once Real Madrid mature and everything like that, I just think they'll just be too good for us over the 90 minutes. I think we might start okay, but unless we get 2 goals in the first 5 minutes or something like that, I just can't see it being anything else but a Real Madrid win.
They are the masters of the late comeback, let's face it. They are. They were on their way out against Man City, and then all of a sudden, boom, 2 goals through. Nobody expects that to come through. It's a tricky one. Let's think about it. So where do we think things are going to go tomorrow? Like, in terms of, we can talk about lineup. Who do you think should be leading the line? Do you think Havertz comes in with Mount on the side, and then who else? What other attacking player do you play? Do you go with Felix, and then Felix, Mount, and Havertz as a front three? Yeah, you
go on, Charlie.
Well, it's a tough one, isn't it? Because you've got Sterling as well, but Sterling's been useless recently. I'd bring him on from the bench. I would put Mount, Havertz, and Felix would be bad as well, to be honest. But so is the rest of them. So yeah, I'd put Felix. I think just put them 3 and let's just see what happens. I mean, none of them are realistically going to. I don't think any of them look like they're going to score a goal. But let's just go with them 3 on form.
Sounds bad, but I think we're all just kind of hoping we get a penalty at some point just to kind of help. It definitely helped against the Dortmund game. Temba, what do you think? Front 3?
I would actually go with Sterling, Mount, and Havertz. I would not start Felix. I think those 3 are our best 3 goal threats, and we need a goal early on. I think as well, in terms of pressing off the ball, Felix is probably the worst one, and it's something you're going to need in that first 10 minutes to sort of shake Real Madrid. They like to keep possession a lot, especially pass it around the back. They're very technically good, so You need your best pressers to be on the pitch at the same time, and I don't think Felix provides us with that. On the ball, yes, he's probably one of the most creative players, but out of possession, which we all know we won't have a lot of possession. So when we do actually manage to somewhat sort of a press, I would like it to be Havertz, Mount, or Sterling, on sort of the beginning of a press and maybe win the ball back and score, because that first 10-20 minutes is crucial. I think if we score, it's game on. But as the game grows on, if it's 25 minutes and it's still 0-0, 30 minutes, I think eventually what you'll see is maybe a Real Madrid goal off a set piece, or I don't know, Vinicius creates for Benzema 1-0 and then the whole crowd's deflated. I think the crowd is going to play an important part the first 20 minutes, but the players need to sort of respond to that and actually get shots on target and not really feed into Real Madrid's game of trying to play the long game of thinking, oh, we will get a goal eventually. We've got to get the goal. Yeah.
Take the shot.
Take the chance.
Shot.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you remember last year when we played Real Madrid in the home game, we did exactly that, didn't we? We came out in traps quite well. And Benzema, I think it was 2 goals in 2 minutes?
Yeah.
Those 2 headers.
It was like really good header.
And both, there was two headers, wasn't there? He scored 2 headers and then there was that awful Mendy mistake. But it was, and Havertz scored a goal. We can score goals. That we can. We have it in us, but not consistently, and that's the biggest problem. And at the moment, there's no confidence. They need to just, like Tem says, that first 5-10 minutes, it's crucial that we score. I think if we don't score in that first 5-10 minutes, the tie's almost over. They need to go all out, and the crowd will be on them. Believe me, it will be a fantastic atmosphere tomorrow. It will be.
We need Rudiger to snap down Raheem Sterling in the box and give us a penalty just in the first 10 minutes to settle nerves. Agent Rudiger, like Dale says. Just somebody like that to help us. I think, do you know what? Rudiger would probably do something stupid like that just to make the game more interesting. He's probably got that character, isn't he? So go score predictions, boys. Do you realistically go for what your head's telling you, what your heart's telling you? What's your head telling you, Tom?
Head's telling me Real Madrid will win 2-1. I think we score an early goal and then they kill us off. But my heart's telling me we could win 3-1. I think that's the best scoreline. Take it to extra time and it's anyone's game then. Charlie
Harris?
I think realistically we will. I think we'll just lose 1-0. I think it'll just be a bit of a. I think Real Madrid will just make it a bit of a damp squid, if you like. And in terms of what was the other one? What do I want?
Yeah, what's your head's telling you 1-0? What's your heart telling you?
Oh yeah, my heart's telling me it's going to be a classic Chelsea Champions League night at Stamford Bridge. We've had loads of them over the years, so don't think that we're out of it just yet. Let's be a little bit positive. You guys, you're so negative, and I'm Mr. Positive. But look, there's always a chance. We're not that far behind. We really aren't, honestly. Like 2-0 was actually a respectable result last week. A lot of people after that game. We haven't obviously talked about that game because it was that long ago. But after that game, a lot of people said, "Oh, that was awful, Chelsea." I think we went with a game plan. Just bring it back to Stamford Bridge. That is the very simple game plan. And bearing in mind we went down to 10 men, I think it was a respectable result actually in the circumstances.
Yeah, especially with losing. I completely forgot, especially with losing Chilwell as well and having to play for the last half an hour with only 10 men. Courtois himself, Chelsea fan favourite, Thibaut Courtois, said, will it be an error on their part not winning by more goals? And I think it's an advantage that we might be able to utilise going into it. I think if I was to give my opinion, my head's telling me 2-0 Madrid. I think we don't have it. We just don't. Nothing's going to change. I think it's just going to be the exact same. It depends entirely on the lineup, who he puts out. My heart's telling me 2-0 Chelsea, and I think it'll be 2-2, and we'll take it to extra time and penalties. I can't see us winning in 90 minutes at all, especially comprehensively. But I think that's definitely going to be something where it'll be. Imagine. Just imagine this. Just imagine the morale boost, winning against Madrid 2-0, and then going through on penalties. What that can mean for players, and what that can mean for attitudes, and what that can mean for wanting to win the second ball. Putting that press in. Like, what can that mean? Do you feel like it could be beneficial? Yeah.
It's a funny one, isn't it? Because I was saying this to a mate of mine yesterday. It's a funny old league this season, because we said this a few weeks ago, didn't we? We said, "Oh, right, we're 10th or wherever we are, and there's two teams around us, Villa and Palace, who've got nothing to play for." And all of a sudden, Villa are pushing for Europe, and Palace look like Palace actually now they've picked up a few points, but they look like they were getting dragged into the relegation zone. And Chelsea are the only team that have got literally nothing to play for in the whole league. There's nobody else. Even Liverpool, they've won tonight, right? So even Liverpool now they're pushing for Europe, right? So it's a funny old league, and I just think that every single team, therefore, that we play until the end of the season has something to play for, and we don't. And I think that
we don't in the league, but especially when it comes to Europe. I'm hoping to see some sort of performance. I really, really am. Like, some sort of performance in tomorrow will be excellent to watch and think, do you know what, it's in there. We just have to try and coax it out of these players. And it's like what Dale says. It just means we're going to meet Man City in the next round. But we've beaten them before, and we'll beat them again. It's Europe. Anything can happen. Pep would probably pay with, he's paying John Stones in midfield at the moment, but he might put Haaland in goal, hopefully. Who knows? I doubt that very highly. Well, chaps, I think that's it for this evening. Unless anyone has got any other business they want to bring forward, anything they want to bring to the fold.
No, just come on tomorrow and let's see what happens, really.
Well, appreciate you all for joining us this evening. If you could have the opportunity where you've watched this stream, or if you're watching it retrospectively, please hit that subscribe button. We greatly appreciate it. It'd be nice to see that creep up towards, let's just aim for 50 by the end of the season. That'd be absolutely fantastic. If you can do so, let us know. That'd be brilliant. But chaps, thanks very much for your time this evening. I will see you all next week.
Out the Chelsea.